Good morning. The meditation reading this morning is from Albert Einstein. From an old man's advice to youth, never lose a holy curiosity. He says, the important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. One cannot help but be in awe when he contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery every day. So I just invite you to take these words into silent contemplation. So it is in this moment, right here, right now, that I just turn my awareness once again to the very presence of the divine, knowing that that one life that lives and moves and has its being in all things is the life that expresses itself in, through, and as me. It is me, for I am one with that divine presence. And so as we sang this morning that we shine our light, that we are a light, that I am a light, that you are a light, that we are a light together. And as we come together this morning in community, I just give thanks knowing that as each of our light, as we show up as individuals together, we shine so much brighter. And I'm just knowing that this day and every day is an opportunity to just be curious, to live out loud, to live in the wonder and awe, to live in the question of what's next in this amazing journey of life. And what is right now is perfect, whole, and complete. And for this, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful to be here on this day, standing on holy ground, knowing that in this very room is the presence of the divine, that beyond these walls is the presence of the divine, that there is no spot where God is not. And I'm just so grateful to be in it, to immerse myself in this life, in this love. And I'm so grateful for this service today, knowing that this is just sacred time, that this is an amazing experience, that each one of us brings our own unique selves to this service, to this community, to this opportunity. I know that Reverend Jerry just speaks the words of the divine that flow through him. They land on each of us in our own unique ways, but I know that they nourish and fulfill us. I know that the music of TJ Moss just blesses us as it already has. I'm just feeling it in every cell and every fiber of my being, just knowing that this is an amazing community, that this is an amazing day, and I'm grateful for it. And so I just declare this time, I declare this service good. I declare it is so, and so it is. Amen. And now let's bring back TJ Moss.
Let's go, y'all. Thank you for those words. Mark, could I get a little more guitar in this monitor, please? So I was looking at the words, and I kind of always just let the words kind of lead me. And I've been writing a lot songs for a long time, so I have a lot of songs to choose from. But I looked at the words that I was shared with this morning. Curiosity, living out loud. And again, I'm a songwriter, and I've done a lot of traveling. I've seen a lot of places, and it's always been a kind of a restless spirit that I've had, you know, that's taken me out, and kind of like a tuna, you know. You can't put me in an aquarium, or I'm not gonna make it. Got to be able to go, just to go for the sake of going, you know. This song kind of encompasses that spirit. It's called In the Desert. Well, I ain't rested, 'cause I ain't made it, but I ain't finished yet, 'cause I just started, and I've been tested. Man, I'm restless, Drinking too much coffee, not enough conversation. Not enough contemplation. And I've been living in the desert. I've been hiding out here, but a storm's on the way. And I've been giving all my efforts. Hurts like the devil every day I ain't home. But I could walk 1,000,000 miles and never get there. I could have it all, but my cupboard would still be bare. I'm restless, just gotta keep on moving. I could live 1,000,000 years and never get there. I could lose it all, and I'd like to believe I wouldn't care. It's helpless. You can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. No. Well, I get so high and I get so scared that the falls I take and the bones I break won't mean nothing if the chance ain't taken. It takes all I've got from my mind and soul of a man beat down from a life controlled by things and not even he can believe in. But I could walk 1,000,000 miles and never get there. I could have it all, but my cupboard would still be bare. I'm restless, just gotta keep on moving. Yeah, I could live 1,000,000 years and never get there. I could lose it all, and I'd like to believe I wouldn't care. It's helpless. Can't take it with you. Can't take it with you. You 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 can't take it with you. Y'all want to sing that with me? Just those words right there. You can't take it with. Oh, that's so beautiful. You can't take it with. Keep going. You can't take it with. Y'all keep that going. You can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. You can't take it. Take it with you. You can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. Well, I ain't rested, 'cause I ain't made it, but I ain't finished yet. I just started. Thanks for singing with me. That was beautiful. Reverend Jerry, tell us what's what, brother.
Awesome song, TJ. Thank you so much. With backup from Sylvia Aguilera, thank you so much for that as well. And the congregation. So, good morning to those of you in this very room. Good morning and good afternoon, and wherever you are. To those of you online, and welcome. We are thrilled that you're with us as well. If you're listening later, welcome. We're glad you're with us as well. Those of you in this very room, later in the service, we will be doing a white stone ritual, and so you will need a white stone and a colored pen. So if you've not gotten yours already, please see Sylvia in the back of the room for that. Those of you at home or listening later, I invite you to grab ideally a 3x5 card or a white piece of paper, small white piece of paper that works for you, and a pen or pencil or crayon or whatever you've got, because we will do a ritual later in the service, and I will tell you all about that. So as you may know, our topic for February is curiosity as a superpower. And my topic for this morning is living curiosity out loud, the sacred I don't know. So think about when you first found this teaching, and it might have been last week or last month or 20 years ago or 100 years ago or whenever it was. But think about when you first found this teaching. And for me, I remember I was so excited because the deeper I got into it, it started to answer so many of those questions that I had about life and about God and about where I've been, where I'm going, all of those things. And it just really worked for me. And I'm so very grateful that I found it. Somebody asked me, and it was 1992, so 30 years. Dang, I was, of course, in kindergarten, just so you know. So in the Bible, hiding in the Bible, there are the words of Jesus. It is done unto you as you believe. And you might remember that the 6 or 7 different examples of Jesus talking with someone who needed to be healed, the story is told, and then it says, and then he says to them, your faith has made you whole. Not my faith, not because you've been a good person, not because you ate all your vegetables, but your faith has made you whole. And we know that's the foundation of our teaching. So I love to talk out of the Bible every once in a while because it's just all right there in the words of Jesus. So I'm all set in this great new teaching. Wonderful possibilities, wonderful relationships, financial abundance, everything's going to work. Everybody's going to behave themselves. Life is going to just be a day at the beach. And it started to be, and I can't say that, you don't wave a magic wand and everything just heals and we move forward, but we start to find that, relationships do start to be better, and money does start to be better, and life does seem to be easier. And we did parking places. So the first demonstration or manifestation was, so you do your affirmative prayer, your spiritual mind treatment, and know and accept that there is always enough of everything, and including parking places. And so I either want one, remember that, I want one either in the front of the store or the back of the store, depending on the weather and if you really want exercise today or not. And either way, it's okay. And that manifested. So if it works for everybody the same way all the time and works for parking places, that means it can work to find the new job or the greater financial abundance or whatever the case might be. I was terrified because I began to be aware of my thoughts. And so I was thinking about what I was thinking about. And I suddenly became aware of the stuff that goes flying through. And I was terrified because, oh my God, I had a negative thought. Is that going to come to fruition or manifest for me? And what we know, it's not so much of the momentary thought, the one thought, as it is the patterns of thought. So am I thinking abundantly? Am I thinking in peace and joy? Am I thinking in divine order, or am I still in the claw and scratch and chaos and all the rest of that? So it's about our patterns of thought and what we focus on throughout the day, every day. But alas, you might remember the old Zen Buddhist saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So whether you've been in this teaching for 20 minutes or 30 years, we're still chopping wood and carrying water and still learning about ourselves and about life and what we believe and what we don't believe. Don't tell anybody, but I have a thing about being in control. Don't tell anybody, right? Yes. And back in the day, I want to print out so I used to travel a lot for business, and so I'd print out my hotel reservation, I'd print out my rental car reservation, I'd print out my MapQuest directions, and had them with me. And many, many years ago, I had the opportunity to speak at a church in, I forget the name of the town, but it's it's in Chicagoland, west of the lake. No, not West Lake, but west of the lake. So I've got my directions printed out, and I go there, and we have a wonderful. I meet the minister and her husband for dinner, and have a wonderful workshop, and everything is great. And I'm headed back to my hotel, and I somehow zigged when I should have zagged, because I have my directions back to the hotel, and they're not making sense. And this was before the days of Google Maps. Can I just say, oh my God, you use Google Maps on your phone or some other app? Man, oh man, it's just amazing. It is absolutely amazing. But before that, I needed the paper, and if you do anything to go in a different direction from what was on the paper, especially in the dark, especially in an area that you don't know, so being a good religious science minister, I pulled over to the side of the road and did my spiritual mind treatment, and I said, I absolutely know that all is well, and I am divinely guided, and I will go in this direction. And what I knew was I will either find the freeway or fall into the lake. So A or B. So I drove and drove and drove and drove and drove and drove and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and drove and drove and prayed and found the freeway. Yay! Because otherwise, potentially, I could still be out there trying to find the freeway or the lake. Just not what I had in mind. So what happens when it doesn't, whatever it is, what happens when it doesn't turn out exactly the way we expected? What happens when there's an opportunity, because I don't like the word challenge, but there's an opportunity with our car or our house or our health or a family member or some situation when we are called upon to pay, to come up with more money than we were planning on? What happens when there's some health situation? What happens when there's some situation in our families? How are we with that and being able to say, I don't know how this will resolve, but I know that it will. So that's chapter 1 this morning. Excuse me. So in my need for control, I also am not that wild about change. And if you are, I honor and bless you and would love to spend some time with you, because for the rest of us, it's a little bit of a situation. And I was thinking on the way over here this morning, there's no way that I can deny this, because I was in my relationship with my husband for 33 years. I worked for the same employer for 24 years, and they ended not by my choice because he died and I got laid off from the job. So I'm here and hanging on for dear life until something happens and the cosmic 2x4, to a large extent, moves me out of that situation and into the potential for something new. My mother, my grandfather, my mother's father, was in the Army, and they moved a lot when she was young. And so when my parents got married, they agreed that they would have home base and that would not change. And so we grew up in the same house, and they stayed in the same house in Escondido for 56 years. So no, we don't like change. We like to be here. Thank you. Because change is scary. Change can be scary. Finding the new job, finding the new relationship, finding the new place can be scary. Is there a way for us to navigate through that? Because that's what happens. Life is, whether we like it or not, about change. And so often the pain for us comes from thinking that somehow it doesn't have to be this way. But it does, because that's just how life works. Change very often brings us to a place that we would have preferred we didn't have to go. There is emotional upheaval. There are feelings of grief and loss, which, by the way, are important and necessary. So we need to love ourselves enough and allow ourselves to feel what we feel. But change very often requires us to say and admit, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to navigate through this. And if you've ever had the experience of the death of a loved one, you know that even if it's a surprise, even if it's a shock but not a surprise, there is, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know what to do. A traumatic experience, and again, of any of these changes that we weren't necessarily expecting or weren't necessarily consciously choosing, can bring about trauma and a change in our sense of self. So I am somebody's spouse. I'm somebody's son or daughter. I am what I do. And so tell me about yourself. How often, first thing when we're working, first thing we talk about is what we do. Well, but I don't do that anymore. So we lose that experience and that sense of self. If you've ever been through that situation, and probably all of us have in one form or another, the opportunity, again, because I don't like the word challenge, the opportunity is for us to be comfortable in saying, I don't know. I don't know what the next chapter looks like. I don't know how I'm going to make it through this, but I know that I am never, never, never in this situation alone. And we'll talk much, much more about that. We need very often, and my experience has been, and I bet yours as well, is when we allow ourselves to be quiet, the still small voice, the still small voice, our inner wisdom, our gut, whatever you want to call it, we get the thought, well, call this person. Go here. Do this. And when we allow ourselves to act on those intuitive ideas that come to us, the most amazing things happen. The most amazing things happen when we allow them to. When we're not hearing, when we're not getting what's next, we must do, I'll almost never tell you what you must do, but we must ask. Remember from the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 7:7, Jesus says, ask, seek, and knock. What do I do next? Where do I go? Do I turn right or turn left? What do I do? And we keep asking, and we keep seeking, and we keep knocking until we get the clear direction that this is what's next for you. So how important it is for us to in difficult times, in situations where we weren't expecting a change or a traumatic event, to stay in this consciousness of, sounds funny, but curiosity. Wow. So, what's next in my life? What's next in the next chapter of my life? What do I need to do next? In possibility, in expectation, and in trust. The sacred, I don't know. The sacred, I don't know. I believe it's so important for us to continuously check in about what we believe about God, Spirit, the universe, the infinite, the divine, our higher power, whatever we choose to call it. If you come from traditional Christianity like I do, you may still have a little, and even if you've been in this teaching a long time, you may still have a little, I like to say, residue about who God is. And if we still have that he is a white, straight, hateful, surly, judgmental, cranky old man on a cloud someplace, and it's done unto as you believe, then we get what we get. But instead, we can remind ourselves who our higher power, who Spirit really is, that it is that loving, nurturing presence that Jesus talked about in the New Testament. Ernest Holmes' book, Can We Talk to God? He has a great definition of God. Consider the Spirit as a warm, pulsating, reciprocal thing. It presses against us. It flows through us. It is our intelligence. It is a great universal urge and surge. It is a warm, colorful thing. It is a beautiful thing. It cannot be put into words. You can only feel it. The Spirit desires a complete expression of itself. Hence, the more we enjoy, the more it is expressed. So if life is for us, and it is, and life with a lowercase l and a capital L, then we can listen and act upon those ideas that come to us. We can trust that we'll know what we need to know. My affirmation when I took my practitioner exams back in the day, I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. And that goes for practitioner tests, that goes for minister tests, that goes for life in general, car repairs, relationships, everything. I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. Because, again, we're never in this alone. Because how can we trust? How can we trust and rely on the old guy in the cloud that may or may not answer our prayer and say yes to us, depending on whether or not we've eaten our vegetables, whether or not he's in a good mood? You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, right? Yes. And if you haven't, you're toast. Which is a whole separate conversation, right? Yes. So, in my need for control, I would like to say that I always know what's going to happen. And the luscious part of life is that we don't. We don't. But we do know that we're going to be okay. Dennis Merritt Jones, wonderful New Thought author, and he was a guest speaker at the affiliated New Thought Network conference a couple of years ago, so I had the opportunity to meet him. Really, really nice guy. And one of his books is The Art of Uncertainty. And he talks about our relationship with spirit and this whole experience. As we spiritually mature, we begin to understand that faith in the unseen presence of the infinite one is not so much about having that presence magically fix the problems in our life, as much as it is helping us embrace the what is that accompanies most change, knowing that we are not dealing with it alone. When we enter each day with faith that we are connected with a presence and power that is larger than us, it seems easier to trust life and surrender to what is in the moment. That doesn't mean we will always like what the moment brings, but with faith, we are able to trust the process and find peace in the moment of what is. So there is, there's the serenity prayer. The courage to know and the wisdom to know the difference, that this I can change, this I can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference. So we've been talking about those changes, those experiences in our lives that we weren't expecting, that consciously we would not have chosen. But there's also the opportunity to look at those areas of our lives and all of the areas of our lives and decide, this still works for me and I'm happy. This still works for me, but it needs some adjustment. This doesn't work for me. So that's chapter 2 in my talk, is looking at those areas and saying, yeah, that was fun and I'm grateful, but it's time to take the next step into my greater good. Sometimes it's just the divine discontent. Life is a journey, and you're in the middle seat, in the very back row, in coach, going someplace, and you just you ever been there, and you move your butt and you move around and you just can't get comfortable. Well, the good news is, at any point we can request an upgrade, and the answer is always yes. So we can get out of that middle seat and come up to at least economy plus, if not first class. There is the opportunity for that. How often do we base our goals and dreams? And let me clarify that, because Mary Morrissey, I think, talks about goals versus dreams. And the goal is cleaning out the garage. You can do that, cleaning the kitchen, organizing the bedroom, dealing with the junk drawer. A goal is something that you can do on your own. A dream, you can't. You need the universe, you need spirit, you need that greater wisdom and guidance to come in and show you what's next. So that's the lusciousness. Have you ever done that? I have no idea how this is going to happen, but I know that I have said, and so it is. And when we state our word, something happens. Something always happens. So there's always the opportunity to embrace a new quality or a greater quality of spirit, a greater quality of God than what we're used to. And as divine timing would have it, there's a list of them over on the wall, and we'll work on those in a few minutes. But whatever you can think of, there is the opportunity to embrace that. So abundance of pocket but also in our health, in our relationships, in our time, in every area of our lives. Because it's all connected. It doesn't work if you've got all the money you can spend, but your relationships are awful, and vice versa. Joy, releasing fear and anger and trepidation and relaxing into the joy of the moment. Love, unconditionally for others as well as for ourselves. Peace. Just relaxing, knowing that all is well. Courage, the ability to say, yes, I want to do that, as well as, no, thank you. The sacred yes, the sacred no. Thank you so much for thinking of me. It's not mine to do. That's a topic for another Sunday talk, but it's the cosmic sometimes it's the cosmic 2x4, but it's at least the divine discontent where we look at something and say, I deserve better than this, I choose more than this in whatever that experience is in our lives. Sometimes we did that already. We tried it and it was okay, but not so much. But Ernest Holmes reminds us, because we fail to realize that principle is not bound by precedent, we limit our faith to that which has already been accomplished, and few miracles result. If the new name I choose, and we'll do this in just a couple of minutes, I promise, if my new name is abundance, and that's in all three of those areas, so health, relationships, and money, it is not our business. It is not our business to decide how that's going to happen. How often do we get stuck in that? Well, so I want more, I sell something, and so I want more customers. Okay, but wouldn't you rather allow Spirit to do what Spirit does and bring you greater financial abundance in ways that you couldn't even imagine? Yes, but we limit the possibilities based on what we believe. And because life always says yes to us, okay, if that's the only way, that's fine. I'm sure you've heard the example of going to the waterfall with the Niagara Falls even maybe, with the teaspoon or the cup measure or the 55-gallon drum or the tanker truck or the, I don't know what's bigger than, aircraft carrier, yes. So life can only give us what we accept. So it's up to us to say, I want that greater financial abundance, period, and allow Spirit to do what Spirit does. So what would we do if we knew we could not fail? What would we decide to do, be, or have, knowing that it isn't possible for us to fail and that life always says yes to us? And allow ourselves to be comfortable in the not knowing. I don't know how this is going to happen, but I know that it will. So we do our affirmative prayer, and then we check in. What's going on here? What do I believe about this? Quoting my friend Edwin Gaines, what must I change about myself in order to receive this? So what belief do I have about this that I need to change? Speaking of Edwin, it's an awesome book. If you don't have it in your library, I so invite you to get it. For Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. So many times I've crawled way, way out on a limb of faith and prayed that God would grow a tree under me. And God always has. Have you ever noticed that on fruit trees, all the fruit is at the end of the limb? It's not up close to the trunk. You have to be willing to walk all the way out on that thin little limb in order to get the fruit. Yes, yes, yep, absolutely. And not only one event, but also that becomes our pattern of thought. That becomes how we embrace and inhabit our lives, that we are open to something new, to something different, to something greater, that because Spirit always says yes to us. So you might remember in Revelations, don't quote them very often, Revelations 2, verse 7, he who has ears, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcomes, I will give to eat of the hidden manna, and I will give him a white stone. And on the stone a new name written, which no man knows except he who receives it. So this morning we're going to do our white stone ritual, and everybody has a white stone. And I invite you to, we're going to do this. I'm going to take longer than that, so bear with me. Thank you. Everybody has a pen in your color of choice, and and a white stone. And those of you with us on the internet, a piece of paper, whatever you've got, and a pen or pencil or crayon. So we will do this ritual. And so I invite you to just be comfortable. Deep breath if you'd like. Be comfortable in your chair as we go through this ritual. As you hold your white stone in your hand, I invite you to do that, and know that you are starting with a clean slate. In this ceremony, we're going to be writing down a new name for ourselves on the stone. The white stone is an ancient ritual. In Jesus' day, when someone served time in prison or in bondage of any kind, they were given a white stone when they were released. Each of us comes from bondage of some kind today, and we're being given a white stone to signify our freedom. All of your past nonsense was as a prison to you, but now you are free to go and be and do anything you choose. Anything you can believe and conceive, you can be and do. During biblical times, it was believed that when the people had overcome and made their connection with the divine, then they got this new name, this new attribute of spirit to refer to themselves. The name was given to them directly by God. No one else intervened. No one else was aware of this new name. It was a new nature, the freedom from bondage. As we surrender to the inner spirit, we are promised a new name. This refers to the new and higher realization of the I am. It requires our reaching a higher level of consciousness within ourselves to even bear facing a realization of our real self, our God self. So I invite you to close your eyes if you haven't already. And in the peace and the quiet of this moment, we allow ourselves to be reminded of our oneness with the God presence, with one another, and with all of life. And we come together in gratitude today for the opportunity to step into our greater good, to step into the sacred I don't know, but in the knowledge that as we choose our new name, we move forward in greater abundance, in greater peace, in greater joy, in whatever we choose to experience. So let's take a few moments in the silence to consider what new name is being called for you. We go into the silence now. and know our oneness with God. Feel that loving presence of God as it surrounds and supports you. Know right now that you're safe and secure. You are loved and supported and uplifted by the presence of Spirit. This white stone is the promise of a new life full of new possibilities. It is the symbol of a clean slate. Whatever has gone on in the past, we let it go. This is a moment in which we know we are free. Begin to reflect on a new name. Let it come to you easily without trying to make it happen. Let a name come to you that marks your new beginning. Feel the stone in your hand. Hear it beckon to you. What will your life be called from this point forward? And when a name comes up for you or a word comes up for you, I invite you to write it on your stone. And I encourage you to not force it, just allow it to come as it comes. And if nothing has come up for you, I invite you to just stay in this consciousness and know that it will be revealed to you when the time is right. For those of us who have that new name, we say, God in me reveals my true essence. God in me reveals my next step. God as me lives a joyous, peaceful, abundant, fulfilling life. Thankfulness flows over us as we receive our new name, and along with it comes the power and guidance to achieve all that we desire. This is our new name. We see it. We decree it. We are on the path to gaining greater insights and awareness and mark a new beginning. And as you move forward in your life, if there is a situation that comes up for you that is not as your new name would reflect, love yourself enough and just release it. No, that's not the truth of my being anymore. I am now abundance or joy or peace or whatever. And let us close and join me in the light for just a moment. So we stay in this consciousness of oneness and great gratitude for the opportunity to be together today. We're not sure. We're not sure what's next for us in this new consciousness with this new name, but we know that we are always divinely guided. We are always protected because it's only change. We're always safe. It's only change. Change in our lives sometimes that we didn't expect. Change in our lives that we consciously choose. Knowing that the universe loves us, Spirit loves us, supports us, guides us, and directs us. We move forward in great joy and possibility. For our time together today, for this new realization, we give great thanks. And together we say, and so it is. And now we will welcome back